welcome back to an unexpected art lesson. This week we are going to continue talking about getting into drawing.
Speaking of pretty things, you know how you always see those commercials back when TV wasn't a complete and utter nightmare of draw anything in X amount of steps, and it shows you that stupid pirate or the turtle? Well, I'm going to show you a way of doing that actually without sending your life savings to some weird company out in the middle of nowhere.
Exhibit A of I am much younger than you. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't feel too bad. There are people my age that do the same thing. I actually have co-workers that still do that.
Also, different countries, so different commercials.
Step 1 is gesture. We have talked about this before, but basically the idea behind it is capturing the overall movement and energy of the piece. So if it is somebody dancing, what are the most expressive parts of the body when they're dancing or pointing at something? Things of that nature.
And if you need help figuring it out, just try the poses yourself. Get up and dance around or do the gestures. Get into whatever position you are thinking about drawing. See what it feels like. Think about which foot has more weight on it, where everything is positioned, and you can use that for the drawing. Even if you do have to get up and do that multiple times because you forgot what one of your hands was doing while you were standing in whatever pose. So I remember something they probably should have mentioned earlier, talking about things to use for like drawing references. There are websites where you can design miniatures for like D&D characters and so forth. Hero Forge is the main one I can think of. You can mock up a character in Hero Forge and they have all these different poses, and you could use that to basically create little models of the pose, including even outfit, facial expression, any items they have with them. Use that and take a screenshot, and voila, you now have a reference that you can draw from.
That is actually a really good idea. We should throw that on the social media once we get to that point.
We will.
For this first step of getting the gestural drawing in place, don't dwell on the proportions nearly as much as you need to. The idea here is that you're capturing what the pose shows. So if the arm's a little too long, the arm's a little too long. If it's a little wonky, it's a little wonky. The idea is that you got the energy down first.
I'm almost picturing this gestural drawing could be almost like a stick figure. Doesn't have to be super detailed. Just what are the legs doing? What are the arms doing? Where's the head? If you are drawing a person, you could also, if there's an object, just sort of tracing the motion and where the individual pieces will be to help emphasize what is going on with the motion.
Exactly. The idea is that you are capturing the energy, not the specifics. For this particular part, you use confident, flowing lines. One thing when I was first starting out as an artist that I was really bad for is I used a lot more wrist than shoulder control. So everything kind of had this scratchy look to it. When you're drawing a gestural piece, try to actually use your full arm range of motion in order to create these long flowing lines.
That also will save you from wrist strain, which is so much fun to deal with, and which is why I have lovely compression gloves, because also marching band for 12 years. When your entire instrument rests on your right thumb. Ow.
Much like how we have talked about Shane Blind's use of the S curve, this is another point where you can reference the idea of the line of action, the main curve that kind of helps define or describe the pose. So this would be things such as the shoulders, the hips, the back. Those particular items would be what convey the visual narrative of whatever you're trying to draw.
Exactly.
Once you've done that, step 2, construction. This is where you expand on that first step. So you now got a rough idea of what the figure you're drawing or what you're drawing should look like in terms of the motion, the energy, the pose. Now you are breaking everything down into its basic shapes, so cylinders, spheres, and boxes.
You have the basic structure or the foundation of the drawing. Now it is time to start assembling the pieces so the S-curve or the line of action starts to turn into something more.
Precisely.
So this is probably when you start adding a little bit more pressure, because I imagine some of these pieces as you are putting the shapes together to make the person, not all of those lines are going to remain for the final drawing, but as you are working, you do want to know where those lines are.
Precisely. You'll be using those light construction lines, something to kind of start blocking out where everything is going to be.
Could also be helpful for figuring out your proportions too. Making sure that they are correct, that the torso versus the arms are not unbalanced. Unless you are going for Uncanny Valley, which we do respect the Uncanny Valley here, but if you are not going for Uncanny Valley, proportions are important.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can use the old school art trick of how many heads tall is this figure? There's always kind of a set conventional measurements for that, so usually it's between 6 to 8 heads, varying for younger characters, of course. But it gives you this idea of you can use the head theory to balance out how big or how short it needs to be.
If you are going for realistic proportions in a more realistic drawing, whereas sometimes when drawing cartoons, it doesn't always line up exactly. Also, you can see some pretty interesting images of anatomically correct versions of different Disney characters. Google with caution, especially with Aladdin.
Yes, safe search is your friend here.
At the end of the day, it helps to know what the rules are so you can know how and when to break them. Because also, even when you are not sticking to realistic proportions or realistic drawings, you still maybe don't want to deviate too much from the norm, or maybe you want to deviate more from the norm to make certain characters stick out. And if it's a character you are going to be drawing on multiple occasions, remembering the proportions is important. So they are not randomly growing and shrinking and changing their proportions dramatically from one scene to another. Unless that is what you are going for.
The other big thing that this particular step is you are working those major angles as well. The shoulders, the hips, perspective, anything that will be refined further in step 3. And then of course step 3 is refinement and the finished product. So this is where you start by adding the details gradually. So the curls in the hair, bags under the eyes, what they're wearing, things like that.
Yeah, if they have any tattoos or wearing anything interesting. Also, if you're drawing things from the space around them. This is also when perspective can play into it, depending on where I'll just use the word camera angle is. Because how the person stands in relationship to the things around them will vary, because even if you have a head-on full body shot, the background is going to look different if it's taken like someone standing in front taking a picture versus like from a lower angle pointed up. That'll also affect the proportions of the person in question. Keeping in mind, even if you're keeping it simple, if the building next to the person is the same height as the person, you have drawn a very tall person. But also adding in those details about the appearance can give you a chance to practice drawing different things, different objects that you can pull from around you, and it adds to the story.
Exactly. And this is where you can also put more work into your varying of line weights. A simple way to start, you can of course play with the rules once you kind of get the better hang of things. Heavy for near edges, lighter for the far away edges. It's a simple kind of setup, but it'll help kind of give you a better idea of where the lines appeal for you.
So that would lead into the sort of camera angle thing, because the lines that would be nearer to the camera lens would be heavier, which you can use to emphasize if it's from a unique angle or perspective, and kind of help you figure out how the character is taking up space in the scene.
Exactly. This is also where you can play with more of the use of your pencil. So using the side of the pencil to add these shadows is a great way of actually getting to see also how you can alter that line weight and create those more striking shadows we were talking about.
Which also adds depth to the character and can be used to sort of play around with where the light is coming from, which we got to see a lot of really fun stuff in Caravaggio's work, but this is a different approach to the same idea. Where the shadows fall, how they change the appearance of someone's face, whether you can only see part of their face, if they're positioned to like hide something, the use of shadow, and also just like thin lines to show if there's like wrinkles in the fabric or texture that you add to the fabric of their clothing. How you draw that can say a lot about them, the condition of their clothing. Is their hair well kept? Is it a frizzy mess? Is it just curly, so it's always gonna look vaguely like a frizzy mess, but it's just curly? The details can say a lot.
Yeah, those are all great visual narratives that you can use in your art to help describe this character for you. And of course, once you get through that, cleaning up the construction lines. So that lovely eraser that we were talking about earlier, this is where it comes into play.
Yeah, get rid of unnecessary lines, any lines that were drawn incorrectly. Just kind of tidy it up a little bit.
Yeah, and this is a rather high-level way of looking at it, but this can be used for just about any type of drawing that you want to do. Figures, objects, environments, even abstract ideas that you kind of need that framework to start to figure out exactly where you're going with it.
Yeah, it's a simple 3-step method that can either be used for something that's a quick sketch. It could be used for more long-term, larger projects. This is your starting point. It's a simple, approachable starting point that can be built upon, iterated on, and you can adapt to your process, to how you do art and how art makes sense to you.
And with that, you have every tool you need to start.
Now, how do you go about starting if you have trauma or emotional baggage that comes with maybe you've had negative experience or people have had negative reactions to you trying to do art, or had bad time with a teacher, or were like me and were never as good as your peers, so you kind of got teased and felt lesser than a lot of the time. Art is subjective, and we put pieces of ourselves into it whether we realize it or not, so it can be difficult to kind of move and work past that. Something we have both had to deal with for different reasons. And pretty much everyone has probably had to deal with this for one reason or another, because also just we live in a chaotic world that is not always supportive of doing things just because they bring you joy, create stuff just because you want to create it. It's capitalism. That's all you need to know. Capitalism.
Yeah, and without going too deep into it, I of course have had some rather negative experiences with the university scene. And for a while, I will admit, I did not want to get back into art. It felt like that particular venue was something that was closed to me. Until I decided to look at it from a different way of, just because what they say is a valid critique does not necessarily mean that it is a valid critique. Get back to the basics. What drew you to art? Find that curiosity and that spark and start again.
Yeah. Why does this matter to you? What got you started drawing? Why did you first pick up the pencil or pick up the computer or whatever it is? This doesn't have to do just with drawing, but any sort of artistic creative endeavor. What got you started? What are you wanting to explore? What about that avenue or that medium drew you in? You just have to go back to why.
Exactly, and for me, it was the ability to tell stories. I loved comics. I loved telling these stories of heroes who rose above. And my original hope was to go to the university and learn skills to help me do this. Turns out that was a bad idea, but
Things don't always go as planned, and you don't necessarily need university to be successful using art to tell stories or be a comic book artist. I know someone who wrote and drew a manga and self-published it on KDP. It's possible. You can do it, and it actually came out really well.
cool. With the advent of the internet and online resources, there is a plethora of ways that you can find these how to draw techniques, the ideas, the concepts. You can do this without the academic baggage.
Exactly. Also, that's a really interesting way to say plethora.
Thank you. I'm only 50% sure I was right on it.
I've never heard anyone put the emphasis on that particular part of the word before. That was interesting.
Neat.
There was a period in time when I was thinking about going back to school to get a master's in creative writing, because if you can't tell, writing, storytelling, big passions of mine. Always have been, always will be, let's be honest. And I even have at times thought about being a teacher and teaching creative writing, which, while I love that idea, it's the grading that got me. The grading and having to assign that sort of numerical value to how correct someone is doing something when everyone has different processes. It's subjective. I know for me, getting bad grades was rough. It made me not go for some things that I might have gone for otherwise. Don't blame the teachers at all. They were doing their jobs. Some of them did some amazing jobs, but something about like having that standardized assessment of things that are creative and subjective and vary so much, and there's not really a right way to do it. It can leave some metaphorical scars. It can make some things harder to get back to because it's been drilled into your head that you're not doing it this way, so you're doing it wrong, and thus it's not good, so why bother? My counter argument is, says who? Who are they to judge you on this? Just do it anyway.
That is the nicest response I can go with as well.
A lot of what I do is motivated by no small amount of fight me, watch me, and why not? Let's do it, let's go.
Spite.
Very powerful motivator.
Exactly. And one of the other reasons that academia may not necessarily be as important as initially you felt is there are lots of people out there who are probably just as disillusioned. Find those people, work with them. They are the ones that are going to be the ones that'll help drive you.
Find the people that you've been sharing a brain cell with. Find the weirdos you vibe with. There are multiple flavors of weirdos and creatives out there. Just be on the lookout. Find your people. Discord can be a really good place to do that, especially if you are in well-curated and maintained communities, so you are picking from a good group of people, but you never know when you're gonna find someone and it's just like, hey, same hat. We're best friends now. I know I've just met you, we're best friends now. I adopt people. Finding your people is magic.
Exactly. These are the ones that are going to encourage you, because at the end of the day, that grade doesn't matter. It's, did you create a piece you're happy with? That is what matters most.
And you don't have to do it for a grade. You can just do it for you, or do it for other people who might be going through a bad time who need something to cheer them up. Art for art's sake is fine. Art created for a purpose to send a message is also fine.
And that is how you redefine your success if you are coming from an academic background where you may be a little disillusioned about art. You change the idea that it's not success based on a grade, but it's on, are you happy with it? Is that personal growth?
Yeah. The goals other people have don't have to be your goals. This goes back to, why did you get into this? What drew you to this? And what do you want to do with it? If you just want to keep doing it as a hobby or just something to keep yourself occupied, fair, valid, we support that. If you want to go out there and change the world, I mean, you've got your work cut out for you. It's going to take a while. There's no such thing as overnight success. Every single overnight success has lots of work leading up to it that you didn't see. But you can do it. Don't give up. Something doesn't work out, learn from it, keep going. And it's okay to adjust your goal. It's okay to adjust your dreams. People change, life changes, the world changes. Just don't give up. And don't let other people define success for you. Because you know they're going to try. That doesn't mean you have to listen.
Yeah, there are always going to be people who go, well, that didn't work for me. Well, guess what? It works for me. Bugger off.
Exactly. Everyone has their own process. All of our brains are different. Yes, you and I share brain cells. That doesn't mean we do everything exactly the same. We just happen to share a couple of brain cells, and no, you cannot have them back.
Rats. Well, I guess I'm borrowing the cats again.
Let's be real, I'm not letting you have it back because of one of your cats would steal it. The other cats would probably try and eat it.
And then who knows where it's going to end up. But one of the other things that does help build your confidence, this can be put to a more universal mindset. Quantity over quality. Drawing from memory is that next step where you can then start to combine references in your head. It is kind of awesome and liberating when you can take it to that next level of creativity. The one where you fill in these details you forgot. The more you draw, the better you are at the skill.
Practice does not have to be perfect. Practice makes perfect. You're gonna draw a lot of stuff that's not great. You're gonna make a lot of music that's not great. You're gonna do a lot of paintings that aren't great. You're gonna write a lot of stories that aren't great. Keep going, keep learning, keep working on your craft, and over time, you'll get there. Like, I think it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. Even if you aren't able to do hours and hours a day, that 15 minutes a day adds up over time. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
Yeah, every step you move just a little bit towards your goal. Some days it may feel like a giant step. Some days it may feel like you just kind of stumbled a little bit closer, but everything does help.
That's still progress, and we're both proud of you. Good job. Keep going. You got this.
And part of that is, as well, is enjoy the act of drawing. You don't always have to do something awesome. If you want to just do a silly little doodle on a napkin, it's still something.
And it might turn into something else. You never know. Just trust the process. Enjoy the journey. The end product does not have to be the next Mona Lisa. As long as you're learning, growing, and having fun.
Precisely. The next step is, of course, obviously, progress tracking. So, document your journey. Figure out what works for you, what doesn't. Compare your work to your past work, not to the people whose style you're learning from.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Although, Doing practices in sprints can help you hone your skill and keep you focused on the project that you're working on, but you're only trying to improve on yourself. I always love seeing when someone has a drawing of a character that they did a year ago, and then they show a drawing of that same character that they did 2 days ago, and the difference is stunning. Usually, that first one is really good. It's really good. It's really impressive. But the progress that they've made over a year will leave your jaw on the floor. And keeping track of your progress, and don't get rid of your practice. Don't get rid of older drawings. You never know when you might need a reminder of where you've been and how far you've come, and that'll inspire other people too.
Exactly. It's not about the destination, it's the journey to get there. And looking at those past pieces a year later, those are those small wins that help you keep drawing.
Yeah. Little wins add up. They deserve to be celebrated too.
It's the quiet rebellion that keeps pushing you forward.
You finally nailed something that you've been trying to draw for a while. You nailed it. You did it. You're happy with it. Go get yourself a piece of candy or a little treat. You succeeded. That is awesome. I'm proud of you.
We cheer for you.
We do. And we want to see it. Show us your work. Speaking as a writer, though, I find something that kind of helps me keep focused and has helped me build my habit of writing regularly is I track my word count. I track how much I have written in a day. I have a little spreadsheet that somewhat regularly gets updates. And it's amazing. I've had some days I felt like it wasn't a good writing day. And then I update the spreadsheet. I'm like, oh, that was 2,000 words. That was a good writing day. So sometimes you need to sort of have that proof to reinforce to yourself how much progress you're making.
And we're all here cheering for you.
We are. Thank you for listening to An Unexpected Art Lesson, the show where we talk about everything you didn't know about art. Stay tuned next week for further discussion of the truth about drawing and how to get started on your journey as an artist. If you like what we're doing, you can follow us on social media and join the conversation over at An Unexpected Art Lesson on Threads, Blue Sky, and Substack. And you can also support us over on Patreon. Get early access to episodes and other fun things at patreon.com/anunexpectedartlesson.